Hello everyone, this is Professor Robert Solis. Welcome to this next video lesson. We are going to work on this particular in-class assignment where you are creating a calculator to determine the surface area and the volume of a triangular prism. So I've taken this picture over here, which contains the base, the height, and the length. Here's the surface area equation. Here's the volume equation. We're going to use that. So what I just did was to use the snipping tool. The snipping tool allows me to just simply grab this part, and I want to incorporate that into my Visual Basic program. So here we are in our Visual Basic program. I think what I'll do is I'll take a picture box, I'll drag and drop that over here, and let me go ahead and put the image inside here. And so the way that we're going to do that is go to the image property. I'm going to click on that button with 3 dots, the ellipsis. I'm going to go to Local Resource Import, and I'm going to import the image from the desktop. And there it is, isosceles right triangle. So let me click open. There's the image, and let me click OK. Now, of course, it's not displayed properly, so I have to change the size mode. Probably the best one that I will like is the zoom mode, because it allows me to resize this and it zooms accordingly. So let's say, maybe something like this. I move this over here, and I want this to be right around there, and I'll just close it up a little bit. That's pretty good right there. That shows me all of the different items that I have to work with, namely the height, the base, and the length. So I'm going to close this form a little bit here, and close the form a little bit like that. Looks pretty good. Let's get rid of the minimize and the maximize box. And I'm going to change this to, what are we calling this? An isosceles triangular prism. Okay, so we'll just say triangular prism calculator. So this is going to be triangular prism calculator. There it is, triangular prism calculator. And let me go ahead and give names to the various items over here. So this is going to be txt base. That'll be txt height. This will be LBL, I'm sorry, LBL, txt length. And that'll be btn calculate. And this will be, okay, now that's a text box. That should not be a text box, and that should not be a text box. Let me get rid of these. Let's see here, let me go over here, oops, sorry. Go over here, and I'm going to delete that, and I'm also going to delete this. Those really should be labels. So I'll just take this label over here, copy and paste it, and let's change that such that it has auto size and a border style of fixed single. And I want that to be the same size as my text box, so let me see if I can get the height like this. That looks pretty good. And then let me also work on the length, or the width I should say. That looks pretty good right there. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that text, so I'll go over here to text property, delete that, and then I can just simply take this guy, copy and paste it, and then I'll move it over here next to volume. Okay. So now I have my 2 labels, and the next thing to do is to give it names. So we'll say that the top label is going to be LBL surface area, and then we'll have LBL volume for the bottom label. So let me go over here. We'll say this is LBL surface area, and this one over here will be LBL volume. Okay, so let me just verify that everything looks good. My eyes will be on this part of the screen, making sure that everything is properly labeled. So that's txt base, txt height, txt length, btn calculate, LBL surface area, and then finally LBL volume. All right, so everything looks good. And now let me go ahead and save my work by clicking over here, Save All. I don't need these panels anymore, and so now I'm going to double click on the button to get ready for the code. Now, the first thing that I'll want to do is I'll want to create 2 functions. Now, according to this, it says that I need to create a function called calculate surface area and calculate volume. and it says a function. Okay, so function calc, is it calc or calculate? Calculate, okay. So we'll say calculate surface area. Now, that surface area function needs parameters. So let's see here. If I go over here, to calculate the surface area, it looks like I need the base, the height, and the length. Okay, so we'll say by val, which means send me a copy of the base as double. Send me another copy of the height as double, and then the length. Now, when you give me that, I will give you back a double. So we'll say as double, and then enter. You give me these three things, I'm going to perform a calculation, and I will return to you a double, which namely is going to be the surface area. Remember, by val, that just tells you how you are receiving the data. Are you receiving a copy, or are you receiving the original? If it says by val, you are receiving a copy. If you see by ref, you are receiving the original. Okay, so we are receiving copies. That means that the original program over here, the original block of code over here, is going to send me a copy. I can mess around with this and not affect the original. Okay, our job is to create the surface area. So let me go ahead and say surface area, and that's going to be a double. Surface area is going to be, let's see here. Oops, let's go back over here. Here we go. Looks like surface area is going to be base times height. Okay, so the base times the height plus 2 times the length times s. Oh, you know what? I didn't ask for that. Boy, I'm glad I took a look at this. I did not ask for this over here. I got the base, I got the height, I got the length, but I did not ask for the side. So I better, Houston, we have a problem here. We got to go back over here to the design panel and include that. Oh, there it is right here. I was blind. All right, no problem. Sometimes that happens. So what I'll do is I'll just increase this. I'll take this guy right here, select it, and move it down a little bit with my arrow keys. And let me include another parameter over here that asks for the side. So I'll just take this guy and this guy, copy and paste, and put it back over here like this. And that has to change from the word length to the word side. And then I'll take this and move a little bit closer. This text box right here, we're going to call that txt side. Okay. So now I'm asking the user for that side value. I can take these guys and move them back up. So I'll do something like this. Right there looks good. And I guess that allows me to get my picture box and maybe open it up a little bit more. Yeah, looks pretty good. No, I'll close the form. Something like that. Okay, so now that I've included the user's ability to enter the side, I better obtain that, or I better utilize that in my function. So over here, I need not only the base, the height, and the length, I also need that side value. So over here in my parameters, I'll do this. Over here, I'll say comma by val side parameter as double. So I need to add one more item in order for this thing to work. I need the base, the height, the length, and also the side. So now let me go back over here, and according to the formula, plus ls, or 2ls. So plus 2 times L, which is the length, times the side parameter. Plus, let's see what else, the length times the base. Okay, so the length times the base. All right, now that I have determined what the surface area is, I can return that surface area by using the return statement. So declaring the surface area, solving for it, and then returning that value. That's what this function does. When I call this, I give it parameters, and then it's going to calculate and return whatever that value is. The next thing that I need to do is to create the calculate volume function. So if I go back over here, here it is. I also need a calculate volume. Okay, so function calculate volume. What do you need? Well, let's see here. If I go back over here, for the volume, it looks like I need the base, the height, and the length. So I don't need the side for this one. So the base, the height, and the length. Okay, so I need by val, the base. Actually, you know what? Why don't I just copy this? I'll copy it from here to here. I won't copy the side. Paste. That's what I need. The base, the height, and the length. And then I'll say as double because that's what you're returning. This part right here, outside of the parentheses, says, I am going to return this to you. I'm going to return a double, or I'm going to return an integer, or I'm going to return a string, or whatever it happens to be. In this case, I'm going to return a double to you. Now, in order for me to do my job, you need to give me 3 parameters, namely the base, the height, and the length. Then I can do my job. And what is my job? To determine what the volume is. So I'll create a volume variable, and then volume is going to be assigned to this equation. The equation says 1/2 base and the height and the length. Okay, so 1/2 times the base times the height times the length. When I'm finished, I'm going to return the volume. So now I have a function that calculates the volume, another function that calculates the surface area. Now I'm ready to go back to my btn calculate click sub and display the contents on the labels over here of whatever the surface area is and whatever the volume is. So I create my comments, calculation, and output. Here we go. All right, what do I need from the user? Let me go back. Looks like I need the base, height, length, base, height, length, and side. So I need the base, I need the height, I need the length, and I need the side. What is it that I'm going to be giving back to the user? Looks like I'm going to give back to the user the surface area and the volume. So over here, surface area and volume. So let's go ahead and get that user input. So base is really going to be convert dot to double whatever's inside of that txt base text box dot text. And the same thing for the height. Convert dot to double whatever is inside of the height text box dot text. The length. Convert dot to double whatever is inside the length text box. And then finally the side. To double whatever is inside of the side text box, convert that to a double, place all that over here. In terms of the calculation, well, I know what the surface area is. The surface area is going to be a call to calculate surface area. I created that function down here. Now, when I press the parens, it tells me what's the first parameter supposed to be, and the second, third, and fourth. Well, the first parameter is supposed to be the base. Then the second one is the height. Then the length. And then finally the side parameter. So I call this function, I give it these parameters, and it's going to give back to me the surface area. Let me do the same thing for volume. I have a function that I just created called calculate volume. What do you need? Looks like you need the base, the height, and the length. Base, height, and the length. So I call you, I give you these three parameters, you give me back the volume, and I assign it to volume. Now I can go over here to the output section and output these to the labels. So LBL surface area dot text is going to be, now I'm going to use a slightly different approach here. I'll use the surface area dot toString option because this allows me to do something like this. I use this formatting tool. That F2 means give me two fixed numbers after the decimal point, or three, or give me no numbers after the decimal point. I want two numbers after the decimal point. I'll do the same thing here for volume dot text, and what I'll do is I'll assign volume dot toString, and I'll use that F2, which means give me two numbers after the decimal point. All right, so save my work, and I'm going to run the program. Let's see what happens. All right, so first of all, it looks pretty good. I see the picture over here. I have the various items. Let's see what happens here. Let me just make some numbers up here. So let's say that the base is 2, that the height is 3, that this length right here, let's say that that's 5, and that this side value right here, let's say that that's 4. Calculate. Okay, so this is what comes up. Let me verify to see if in fact this is true. So let me switch back over here to this picture so I can see the equation, and I'm going to open up the calculator, and let me clear. All right, so what did I say again? For let's see here. There it is. And can I bring up the calculator as well? Yes, I can. Perfect. Okay, so it looks like the surface area is the base times the height. Okay, so the base is 2 and the height is 3, so 2 times 3 obviously is 6. I'm going to include that in the memory, so I'll put that into memory. Plus 2ls. Okay, so 2 times L is 5 times S is 4 equals, and then I want to add that to the already existing memory, and then L times B, which is the length times the base, so that's 2 times 5 equals, and I'll add that to the memory. Let me memory recall. Looks like that's 56, which is exactly what I have over here. So that works out. Let me clear. And now let's solve for the volume. So it's 1/2 the base to height times the length. So let me just multiply the base to height times the length and then divide it by 2. So the base is 2, the height is 3, so times 3 times the length is 5. And then I'm going to divide that by 2. So we'll say, whoops, sorry, divide that by 2, and that's going to be 15, and sure enough, 15 is over here. So it looks like our program works. And of course, I would test it out with some other values as well. But the idea is this: create functions to take care of chunks of code that you might call over and over and over again. It makes it so that your main program is smaller and that you can use that chunk of code repetitively. All right? All right, so this is Professor Robert Solis. I hope this video lesson was helpful. Have a good day. See you next time.